All right, I'm
Darlene, you making us live?
I'm working on it. Hold on a minute. Our whole system went down this morning. It took them 2 hours to fix it, so we could have Zoom today. That's why I have a headache yet.
Darlene, you making us live?
You are now live.
We are now live. Good afternoon, everybody, and welcome to the Joint Standing Commission on Transportation. I have the distinct honor and privilege to chair the committee this afternoon, thanks to Senator Diamond and Representative Martin. And to do that, we got a work session today to do some language review on some bills, and we've also got a joint order authorizing us to report out a bill on the motor vehicle inspection piece. So with that, before we get started though, I'd like to do committee introductions, and we're going to start with the Transportation Chair, Senator Bill Diamond.
Well, good afternoon, everybody. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Appreciate that. My name is Bill Diamond. I live in Windham and I represent Senate District 26. Thank you.
And our House Chair, Representative Danny Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, folks. Danny Martin, House 150, located in northern Aroostook County.
Perfect. Representative Lynn Williams.
Thank you, Senator Farron. Lynn Williams, District 135, representing the towns of Bar Harbor, Lemoyne, and Mount Desert.
Representative Mark Bryant.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm Mark Bryant. I represent House District 24, part of Honorable Senator Diamond's district, Senate District, and I'm proud to be here today.
Thank you. Representative Bruce White.
Hello, and thank you, Senator Farron. And you seem to be a natural at this. Stepped right in. And so I'm from Waterville, Representative Bruce White from District 109, and very glad to be here today.
Thank you. Representative Kevin O'Connell.
Thank you, sir. And Kevin O'Connell, District 128 of Brewer. And just to let you know, I would not have this hat if it was not for the $5 that Senator Farron loaned me about 10 years ago.
Still owes me, but Representative Thomas Patton.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Tom Martin. I represent District number 92, which is Green and Sabattis.
Thank you. Representative Michael Perkins.
Good afternoon, Senator Farron, and thank you. My name is Mike Perkins. I represent District number 77 in Oakland and Sydney here in the great part of Maine.
Perfect. I think we're missing Senator Ben Chipman. Not on.
Not on. He's doing tax.
All right. How about Representative Dustin White?
Not available.
And Representative Wayne Perry?
Not here yet.
Not yet. And Representative Richard Sebra?
Not available.
All right. I'd also like to introduce our committee clerk, Darlene, up there, who's keeping us all straight. And we also have committee analysts, Sam Prower and Julie McDonald. So with introductions, I think it's time that we open up the work session that we're going to go through. And the biggest thing we have, I think, Sam, you're taking the lead on a couple language reviews that we have to do.
That's correct, Senator Farron. Do you want to do those and then do the committee bill after?
Yeah, let's do that. Let's get the language review done, and then we'll go into the work session on the committee bill.
All right, let me pull up my screen. And we're going to start with the catalytic converter bill. That's LD 796. And what I have for the committee are kind of three categories of updates. I made a couple drafting updates based on the initial language review we did in committee. So I'll walk you through those. I have the report back information, or the letter, or I guess memo we received from Criminal Justice about the Joint Rule 319 review. And then we also have this memo we received from Secretary of State that I think they were looking for input from the committee about what direction they should go, because that will impact the fiscal note. So we can just take those one at a time if that works. Awesome. So what I have up on my screen right now is the current draft of the catalytic converter bill, and I'm going to just scroll down and point out a couple of things that were changed based on the initial language review with the committee. So the first here is in section 3 of the bill. And this is the part about requiring dealers to mark the catalytic converter on the motor vehicle. And there were 2 clarifications that were made at the work session that I want to highlight. So the first is that a dealer is not going to be required to engrave the VIN on the catalytic converter of a vehicle that is sold at wholesale. And then the second is that a dealer is not required to mark a catalytic converter with the vehicle identification number if the catalytic converter is not in a location where it is clearly visible from the underside of the motor vehicle. And I believe this was in response to the concern that some vehicles have catalytic converters that are shielded, and basically you'd have to take off multiple parts to even get to it. So moving forward, working with, and I apologize that I'm just going to scroll through this to get to the pieces. Working with the Secretary of State, we updated some of the, and this is subsection 7. This is the subsection that governs the record keeping requirements for a recycler that purchases a catalytic converter that's been removed from a motor vehicle. And particularly, we're looking at paragraph D. Some of these record requirements were just updated based on input from the department. And if there are questions about those, I know that David Gilmet is here to answer any questions the committee might have, but this is just tweaked to make sure it was in conformance with what the department was looking for. So I'm going through my list in my notepad. Right. I realized after the initial language review that the cross-reference in the disposal section, one of the cross-references was wrong. So this is subsection 8 about the disposal of catalytic converters. And under paragraph B, we say that a recycler may not finally dispose of or deconstruct a catalytic converter that has been removed from a motor vehicle, or remove the contents of catalytic converter that's been removed from a motor vehicle, unless, and this first subparagraph here is that the recycler has complied with the requirements of subsection 6, paragraph D. And that subsection, I'm sorry, I'm going to scroll back up to it, is the subsection that basically requires that within 10 days of purchase or acquisition of a catalytic converter that's been removed from a motor vehicle, the recycler has to submit a report of the transaction to a property and recovery tracking system administered by a regional law enforcement support organization designated by the Secretary of State. So basically what this is doing, and this is why it was important that we fix this cross-reference, is it's eliminating a situation where a person or a recycler can purchase or acquire a catalytic converter and then dispose of it before submitting that report to the regional law enforcement support organization. And again, the department's here if you have questions about particularly why that's important, but that's just something that was important that I flag as that is the thing that was fixed from the original draft. Moving forward. Down in the sections about rulemaking in the bill, I think you can see here that no later than January 1st, 2023, the Secretary of State shall adopt rules necessary to implement this subsection, and that these rules are routine technical rules. This is subsection 14 of the bill. This is the subsection referring to the process a person can go through to get an identification number for a catalytic converter, where they either cannot identify the VIN or the catalytic converter is too damaged to mark in the normal way. And initially the date in here was November 1st, 2022, and we changed it to January 1st, 2023, again based on input from the department about when they would actually be able to get rules done. And then the final piece is down here, and that should not be section 5. Again, these things actually, no, that is section 5. Sorry, I was thinking subsection. Section 5 is correct. So this is the part about a public awareness campaign regarding the regulation of catalytic converters. And this was, again, a piece that was added after the work, based on the input provided by the committee at the work session. And it is basically, I'll read it, I think, because that's easier than summarizing it. It says that the Secretary of State shall provide information at Bureau of Motor Vehicles branch locations and its publicly accessible website that promotes public awareness of the requirements related to catalytic converters under Title 29A, Section 1114, that the Secretary of State may solicit and accept assistance from municipalities or other relevant entities to develop and distribute the information it is required to provide under this section, and that the Secretary of State may advertise on radio, television, or other media in order to provide information it is required to provide under this section. And then we list the information that's required. So the first is that the information that is required is to raise public awareness about the requirement to mark catalytic converters, to assist persons in identifying the catalytic converter that is required to be marked, to inform persons of the process for when and how to apply for an identification number for a catalytic converter, and to raise public awareness of the potential criminal violations for those who violate the requirements of the catalytic converter regulation. So you can see that you can think of these four things as the information that the department is required to provide. And then you can think of what's described in the paragraph above as options, basically ways they're authorized to deliver it. And this is maybe a good time, as long as there aren't questions about what's in the current draft, this might be a good time to actually go to that memo from the Secretary of State's office, because I think that the options they gave you for thinking about, what the fiscal impact would be of each of them will be informative. So are there questions?
Yeah, Sam, before we bring that up, let's just see if anybody has any questions for you on the previous sections. I can't see if there's any hands raised.
I think Representative Martin has his hand raised.
Representative Martin?
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair. Sam, you and I talked about Section 5 very briefly yesterday. I have not responded to the Secretary of State's memo regarding that, quite frankly, because I kind of felt that was an executive decision. But I wonder if we'll have an opportunity, Mr. Chair or Sam, to hear from either Mr. Gilmet or the Secretary of State regarding where she's headed with that, or where the department is headed with that.
Thanks, Representative Martin. Yeah, I think once we get any questions for Sam, we'll bring Dave in, see what we can ask him those questions. Does any other members have any questions for Sam on the review so far before we move on to that letter and bring Mr. Gilmet in? I don't see any, so go ahead, Sam. Keep driving.
Thank you, Senator Farren. And also, I was just informed that apparently the Secretary is also in the room.
Okay, perfect.
So the reason I thought it was a good place to transition is because what you can see here is the list of requirements that the department's supposed to, the information they're supposed to provide, and then the options for how they're authorized to do it. And so the memo that was provided to the committee, and I forwarded this to the committee last Friday, and I can also send it again if anyone is having trouble finding it. But basically what it does is it outlines what different options look like for providing this information. And they started, I think the way this is organized is with kind of the most expensive and comprehensive option, and then they went down in order to less expensive options. And I think that they were ultimately looking for input as to what they would say is required on the fiscal note for the bill, which is why I felt the need to bring it up with the committee today. And I don't know if you want me to walk through each of these, or if this is a good time to actually have the department walk you through each, because they might be able to speak to the numbers better than I can.
Sam, I think it's better if we bring the department and we'll bring in the Secretary of State, and that way there we can hear what they have to say about presenting this letter. If you don't mind,
Yeah. Should I remove my share screen?
please. Unless we need it, we might need to bring it back up again, but we'll go without it right now.
Okay.
Darlene, can you move?
I'm working on
All right. I assume, but you know what happens when I assume.
it. I know. Well, when the screen shares up, I can't bring people in, so.
Gotcha.
Mr. Chair,
Well, we're doing that. Representative O'Connell?
Yes, when Secretary comes on, I'd like to wish her a happy birthday.
Oh, perfect. I'm sure she'd love it if you would sing to her.
Maybe tomorrow.
Okay, good. Madam Secretary, welcome to our committee meeting this afternoon. And Mr. Gilmet, I saw you there. So if you would like to, before we open it up to questions from the committee members, if you kind of want to walk us through a little bit about the campaign ad and what your thoughts are and what you're looking for guidance from the committee.
So maybe I will start, Senator Farren, distinguished members of the Transportation Committee, but then kick it to Director Dave Gilmet, because he's the real expert on this work and headed up the working group. We wanted to provide you options because, of course, we can, and Director Gilmet can speak more to what we could do at no cost. But our Director of Finance reached out to the Bureau of Highway Safety because the Bureau of Highway Safety does media campaigns that are general public education campaigns. The Bureau of Motor Vehicles does not have very much experience with doing television or radio or digital campaigns, although we collaborate certainly with our partners when they do these types of things. And so the numbers or estimates around funding options originated in conversations with the Bureau of Highway Safety about what they do. And so we walked through option one is very expensive. It's $121,869, but it includes production and viewing costs, service costs for television ads, radio ads, digital ads, which includes social media, as well as display ads, which run streaming for all of the various streaming television options, and print ads. Option two is $72,000, and that is just television and digital that would be viewed on social media. Option three is television, digital, and it also adds print ads here, but it's a reduced cost. Option two includes radio. It splits on 2 pages. So option three does not include radio. And then option four is print only. But Director Gilmet can also talk to free. So if you don't have, if there's a sense that there isn't funding for public education, I think the way Sam has drafted the language that gives us the authority to do this work, it's just important to know that without funding, we just wanted to manage expectations. We don't have a budget for marketing or for public education that we could do television or radio or digital ads for the general public without additional funding. But there's certainly our traditional methods of communicating with our stakeholders, putting information on our own website and our own social media platforms or in press releases and that sort of thing that we could do it at no cost. So I'll defer to Director Gilmet if folks want to explore the no cost option, but we just wanted to give you the option if, we know that this is new and it's big. We know there's a lot of public discussion about it. So if you did want to go down the road of television, radio, or digital, we're here and willing to do that as well.
Director Gilmet, would you like to weigh in on the free option?
Senator Farren and members of the committee, yes, I would. I think that we have some traditional ways of notifying the public and the industry on new laws that are coming out. And one of those ways, obviously, is, as Secretary Bellows mentioned, is the website, the department's website. And then, of course, you all know that we regulate the automobile industry, both new and used car and recyclers. And so our dealer section has communication with all of the industry. And we regularly notify the industry through whenever there are some changes in rule or law, and we can do that electronically now, and we can also put it out by mail. And we have, the industry knows that they cannot purchase a catalytic converter without it being marked. So they would tell any of the public that brings them in that I'm sorry, we can't purchase that without it being marked, and then direct them to the Bureau of Motor Vehicles. So, and that's another way that the public would be notified. And also our detectives are working from, Fort Kent to Kittery, and we deal with the public, we'll deal with all other law enforcement agencies, and we would make notification to all the other law enforcement agencies in regards to this bill. And so the public would be notified through them too. And I think anytime that a law enforcement officer comes in contact with the public that may have a catalytic converter that they've taken off in their car that they may have out behind the house or something, they call us if they want to, and we will walk them through the process. Or if they should happen to go to a recycler, the recycler is not going to take the catalytic converter, and he would inform them of the process and most likely direct them to us. So there are some other options to notifying the industry and the public. Some options other than the ones that were presented a few minutes ago, probably a lot less costly. And it is not new to us. We've been doing this. We have done this before, and we can do that again.
Thank you, Director. Any questions from committee members? So I'm looking. So listen, my thoughts, out of the gate on this is that we all know this how important this issue is and how hard of work that has gone into it. We also know where we are in legislative session with fiscal notes, and I'd hate to see all the work done on this end up on the appropriations table and die without funding, and we just kick the can down the road and nothing happens. But that's my 2 cents on it. I'd be interested in what other members of the committee feel about that. Ooh. Let's go with Representative Martin, because I know he had a question when we first switched over here.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Mr. Gilmet, or to anyone that can answer this, regarding any potential fiscal note, does that go on our table, or does that have to go to AFA? I'm just wondering, because I do share the same concern that Senator Farren has.
Representative Martin, I'm not sure I can answer the question you just asked, but I do want to make you aware there is a fiscal note regarding the officers needed. There was three officers, a supervisor, and a support person.
Yep.
That fiscal note is also attached to this.
Yeah, thank you, Dave. I guess I had forgotten that. I wonder if Sam could answer, does this go on the transportation table? Or does this have to go to AFA, Sam, or Bill?
Yeah.
Someone else might be able to speak to this better than I can. I am not entirely sure because this, I think, would come out of the department's budget. Or from funds provided to the department from elsewhere. I'm not really sure where it will come from until we see the fiscal note.
Senator Diamond,
Mr. Chair, I think that if what generally has been the pattern, if it comes out of the general funds portion of the Bureau of Motor Vehicles, then it would be a general fund fiscal note. But if it comes under the highway fund, which I think this would, then I think it'll be on our table. It would be in our transportation highway fund.
Thank you. Representative Williams? You're muted.
Yeah, I'm unmuting. Just quickly, I think at our last meeting or the last time this issue came up in terms of paid media and unpaid media, that Senator Chipman brought up quickly, and I don't think we discussed it, just the possibility of using public service announcements as opposed to traditional paid media, the cost being, I don't know if it's zero, but certainly less than traditional media. And the other thing is I have found, because I have a few clients that I work with on their own media, and I surprisingly have found social media, which is free, except for the staff people who are doing it, to be extremely effective. And to have so many people reposting important information. So I would encourage, at the very least, a social media plan for this. Thanks.
Thank you, Representative. Representative Mike Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I was just thinking, exactly what the Representative Williams was saying too, do a release on Facebook and Twitter and all these, and that touches so many people. And then, of course, I was really thinking that Mr. Gelmet's a handsome young man, and he could probably stand up and do a great press release out there, have his picture all over the, Channel 5 and Channel 8. How's that, Dave? Pretty good?
Representative Perkins, that I will reserve my comments for later when I see you face to face.
I took that as a yes.
Yes,
Representative Bruce White.
Thank you. Yes, and I think what Mr. Gilmat mentioned, the ways that they can already get this info out to the dealers and et cetera, makes a lot of sense. And also, I like what Representative Williams and Perkins said, that we just, try to do the public broadcasting the best we can, keep the costs down. I think the Secretary of State's office always does a great job with, a quick graphic or an announcement right on their Facebook page that gets shared. So that makes a lot of sense. And the other thing I was thinking, if I had a car in my backyard and I, saw an ad, but then a year and a half later, I go and take the catalytic converter off, I probably would have forgot what that was all about until I brought it into the junkyard to, sell it. So I'm not sure how much it matters unless you really are ready to do it. So that that added expense could probably be spent on other things. So I'm all for doing as much as we can for free. Thank you.
There you go. So just clarification on that, Director, is that part of your word that, you get out to the recyclers as well as to the industry, but also would be able to do this on the Secretary of State's social media, that we could all share and get out there and address Representative Williams' desire to get it spread out above and beyond. that would be part of that.
That would be
piece.
part of that, Senator Farren. Yes, it would. I think there are probably many ways that we could do that, or it could be done at little to no cost.
Thank you. Thank you. Representative O'Connell.
I just can't help but think that we would do this out of respect that we have for the people that steal catalytic converters, just to give them a heads up. Just what I was thinking.
Thank you. Representative Perkins.
In all seriousness, if we could craft something, as you drive up and down the interstate, we have the signs that DOT puts out. Maybe if we could craft new catalytic converter law, or just, at least then they'd go to a webpage and look at. I mean, I think there's ways we could do this without, I don't want to lose the momentum that we have, because this is a great bill and this will really help, people from, we're not going to stop everybody, but we'll stop some.
Yeah, great. Senator Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I agree, I think if we can find a way to get this done, which I think we can, without spending a lot of money or allocating a lot of money. But on the detective side, we really do have to have the detectives. So, and I'm assuming, and I haven't looked at it for a bit, but I'm assuming that's highway fund.
It is highway.
So that again will come back to us for a final decision making. But that, from what we learned before and the role they're going to play, was it 2 detectives?
Senator Diamond, it was 3 detectives and a supervisor.
Okay.
And 1 support personnel clerk.
Okay, very good. So I think that's two different items for sure. But the bottom line is we get to deal with it as a committee, and it won't be off to somebody else's committee who might not have the background that we do on this. Thank you.
Correct. Thank you. Any other questions for either the secretary or the director? Not seeing any. Thank you both. Sam, based upon that, and happy birthday, Madam Secretary. We can't let Representative O'Connell just acknowledge that. Sam, does that give you the direction that we need to wrap this thing up and put the bow on it?
Thanks, Senator Farren. Yeah, I think that conversation is helpful. The way we drafted the section is pretty permissive too. So, the thing that the Secretary of State is required to do here above all else is to provide the information on its publicly accessible website and at the BMV branch locations. And so those 2 things sound to me from this discussion like the kind of the lowest cost option. If it's at the branch locations, if it's a brochure or a poster or something like that, or just even providing the information when you, I don't know, update your registration. I'm sure the department has ideas about how to do that. And then everything else in this is really built to give them the leeway to go further if they want to, or if they have the money to. So when we say in here, the Secretary of State may solicit and accept assistance from municipalities or other relevant entities to develop and distribute the information. I mean, I think that could look like reaching out to DOT about those highway signs if they wanted to, or that could look like reaching out to the recyclers to have them help provide the information to the people who show up. And then, you were talking about social media. If the department wants to go in that direction, they have the authority in here for that as well. So I think ultimately the information you gave will inform what the department ends up including in the fiscal information, and that will show up on the fiscal note.
Thank you. Because Senator Diamond and Representative Martin let me drive this afternoon before the secretary and the director go, I just wanted to say thank you. I had a recent issue with one of my code enforcement folks that were asking some questions, and you folks reached out and helping them out. And I just wanted to say thank you. Always makes our job easier when you help our constituents. So thank you for that. All right, Sam, you want to move on to, is it LD 1990 for language review?
I apologize. I have one more piece on 796.
Okay.
No, it's all right. It is. I think it's going to be very brief. So I'm going to pull up my share screen again. So as you know, last week we did Joint Rule 319 reviews with the Committee on Criminal Justice and Public Safety, and this is the letter sent back to our committee about the Joint Rule 319 review of the catalytic converter bill. And the only formal input that the committee provided was that the committee voted to convey to the Transportation Committee and also to the Committee on Appropriations and Financial Affairs, because that's the other committee they report to when we do these Joint Rule 319 reviews. Its conclusion that the bill, as amended, will have a large impact on the criminal justice system. And so basically what this is that what this means is that the review provided by Criminal Justice and Public Safety, the committee was tasked with determining the impact that any new crime or increased penalty for a crime in a bill is going to have on the criminal justice system. And when the Criminal Justice Committee looked at this bill, they made a determination that it would have a large impact. But the discussion at that review was that it seemed like that was actually the point of the bill, that it was to increase enforcement and create criminal penalties for violations of this law. And so we, notably, the committee did not provide input on things that concern them about the bill. They did not provide input on things that should be changed in the bill. And I certainly would not speak for anyone on that committee, but like I said, there were not concerns raised about this bill or that impact at the meeting.
So nothing that we would have to do, Sam, on our end. We're all good with the language piece of it and everything else. It was just noting that the bill's going to have the impact that we intended, which was to stop people stealing catalytic converters.
That was my understanding of the review. Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you. Senator Diamond.
Mr. Chair, I just want to say a quick thank you to Representative Williams, of course, Sam too, but Representative Williams for attending with Sam. She obviously, she knows the law. She's familiar with this committee and all we do. So I appreciate her taking the time to do that. Thank you.
Well, I have to be honest, Senator Diamond, that hearing went on for like 5 hours or something, and I was unable to attend. But I heard from someone on the Criminal Justice Committee that Sam did a great job.
Awesome.
And they didn't need me after all, so.
That could be your good intentions anyway.
That's right. That's right. Absolutely. All right. Let's go on to LD 1990, Sam.
Absolutely. Oh, and I just wanted to note one more time. So we're currently in the loops, just getting the language buttoned up for all these bills. And so I will send an email to the committee with the final reviser's version before the bills get reported out. But I wanted to do these language reviews today just so we could have like the part where we are presenting them in the committee handled. So 1990. So the committee will recognize this amendment. This is LD 1990, an act allowing electric powered school buses to have distinctly colored bumpers, wheels, and rub rails. And this bill as amended is also allowing public service vehicles to be equipped with a flashing green auxiliary light. So highlighted here is the language that the committee saw at work session with one small change. And I just wanted to highlight this for the committee moving forward, and that in this second sentence where we say a flashing green auxiliary light on a public service vehicle equipped in accordance with the subparagraph may be used only when assisting members of the public or law enforcement officers with a disabled vehicle, loading a vehicle onto a wrecker, removing debris from a roadway, or constructing, maintaining, inspecting, or repairing utility infrastructure. And the particular piece that was added here was loading a vehicle onto a wrecker. And this is because last year, when this committee passed the bill about allowing the flashing green light to be on a wrecker, we just wanted to make clear that the requirements of that separate piece, because the record is technically a public service vehicle, weren't upset by this new amendment. So all that is just making sure that we're being consistent in both places. And actually, if you look at Title 29A, Section 2054, paragraph C, if you look at subparagraph 2A, that's the what part about the record, and you'll see that the language is mirrored. So I just wanted to highlight that for the committee, that the language came out slightly different than what was at the work session, but it's doing the same thing, and it's not disrupting the record law from last year. And unless there are any questions, I'll also move, we got the fiscal impact statement back on this as well.
Representative Martin.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to make sure, Sam, that the department is okay with that new verbiage, and Representative O'Connell as well.
Representative
Yes,
O'Connell's got his hand raised, so we're gonna find out whether he is or not.
Thank you, Senator. Yes, I am good with that. It'll work. And also, I greatly appreciate everybody's support on this. Thank you very much. It means a lot. Thank you.
Sam, what was the financial impact of?
Absolutely, I'll pull that up, and the short answer is that there's no fiscal note required, but I just wanted you to see it.
Absolutely.
No fiscal impact.
Nice.
No fiscal note required. So again, this is just even when we have no fiscal impact on the fiscal notes, I like the committee to see them. That way you know before it gets reported out.
Perfect.
And that's all I have for you on 1990.
Any other questions for Sam on that one? I just like to say, Sam, thanks for doing the work that makes us look good, doing that cross-referencing to make sure that we don't have any of the conflict that sometimes we move along and don't think about those things. So thank you for that effort.
Absolutely.
All
Sometimes
right.
advisors catches them too. It's not all me.
Oh, take credit. So then we'll move into the work session on SB 734, which, just to remind everybody, is the joint order authorizing the Joint Standing Committee on Transportation to report out a bill related to recommendations from the Motor Vehicle Inspection Working Group organized by the Department of Public Safety.
Do you want me to share my screen? Okay. All right. So this is a little different than what we normally do, because we don't actually have an LD yet. So this is the LR version of the committee bill, an act to implement the recommendations of the Motor Vehicle Inspection Working Group. And the amendment or I guess it's not an amendment anymore. This was, so originally when we had the work session on LD 284, which was the inspection program bill that the committee ended up voting on not to pass on, and then moving forward with a committee bill instead. This is what you're going to see is initially what was an amendment for that bill, and now it's just going to be an original committee bill. So moving down, this is the language that was provided, and it's also been like formally processed through the revisor's office. So as you can see, this bill is going to increase the fee for motor vehicle inspection up to be a fee of up to $25, and it's going to make those fees uniform rather than having different fees for the inspection program. And the other key change here is that now it reads that the chief of state police may make available, but may not require the use of an electronic inspection program for the purpose of inspections performed under this chapter. So this was in response to the concern expressed at the last work session on LD 284 that the committee didn't want the state police to require the electronic inspections right out the gate, and that but only make them available for people who would want to use the electronic inspection program. And then the rest of this is pretty much the same. We say that the chief of state police may contract with a private entity to implement an electronic inspection program, that the chief of state police may develop by rule an approach to phase in the implementation of an electronic inspection program throughout the state. That the chief of state police may designate by rule a fee that an inspection station must pay to its state for each inspection performed using an electronic inspection program. And that fee may be no more than the cost to the state of using the program to perform an inspection, and that the chief of state police shall adopt rules to implement the section. So, and then moving down before I forget, this is also a preliminary fiscal impact statement on the bill stating that no fiscal note is required. And you can see that it states that additional costs to the Department of Public Safety associated with reviewing bids and rulemaking can be absorbed within existing budgeted resources. And the department is expected to have minor cost savings related to the cost of inspection stickers and postage, not requiring any change to the budget. So I guess I will stop and see if there are any questions about this bill as it's currently put together, and then I will I can summarize what the committee needs to do in order to get this reported out.
All right, Sam, thank you. Committee members, questions, comments, concerns? Not seeing any hands raised. Oh, yes, I do. I see Representative Mike Perkins.
I have just a comment, Mr. Chair. My biggest concern and my biggest worry on this is electronic. I'm all in on this, part of that committee. We have some people down in Washington County that don't have access to a computer. We have people up in Aroostook County that don't have access to a computer and don't have, and then they might not just want to do it. I mean, I did hear from some old people say that I don't have a computer and I'm not going to get on one. So now we're going to put that old guy out of business. So my biggest worry is that the chief of police can institute it, and he can, I think we ought to make sure we make it optional for the business to do that. Because it might mean nothing to you and I. We're going to put one old guy out of business up in Aroostook County. It's not going to bother me a bit down here in Kennebec County. Well, it does bother me because that's the only lifeline this old guy's got up there. So I don't. That's just my worry. Just see where I'm going with it.
Thank you, Representative Perkins. Sam, you raised your hand. I think you got a follow up on that.
Yeah, thank you, Senator Farren. Yeah, I do want to make clear, and I can pull it back up. The way this is written is it is optional. Now, that basically what it's going to be is that the chief of state police is allowed to make the electronic inspection program available to inspection stations, but may not require that they use it.
All right. Any other comments or concerns? I'm looking, we got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So we got plenty. House Chair Martin. So are we in a position now that we see if the committee wants to take a vote to report this bill out?
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. I would suggest we turn it over to Sam because I'd like to hear exactly what the process is. This is very unique. This is an SP, not an LD. Right. And I want to make sure that that all the committee members understand exactly what needs to occur here. And hopefully after that explanation, we can take a final vote if we need to on this or go from there.
Report out. Thank you, Representative Martin. Sam, explain to us what we're doing here.
I'll try. So as committee members have correctly pointed out, this is not yet an LD. This is not yet a printed bill. So what this is it's a committee bill, and what you have before you is basically a draft of what the committee bill will look like, and you have the relevant fiscal impact information in front of you. So you can think of this as when you normally submit a bill and there's a legislative request. That's the stage we're at. It's just not printed. And so what would normally happen when you report out a committee bill, if you just vote to report out a committee bill, is that it would go to the floor, and then it would actually be referenced back to committee for a public hearing and a work session. And in this case, my understanding of what the committee wants to do, because you've already done that work through the former vehicle you had, which was LD 284, is that the committee was intending to, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but my understanding was you were intending to report it out and not have it come back to committee. So the vote would be to report out a bill and then also with it a recommendation, and I'm assuming in this case it would be ought to pass, unless, but there can also, unless, you know, the committee wants to make changes to it. So does that make sense? So the vote would be to report out the bill and also provide a committee report with it. And in this case, it wouldn't be an amendment unless you want to change the draft I showed you today. It would just be a straight ought to pass.
Thank you, Sam. Representative Martin?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. My thought, it would be great if we could finalize this bill today for a couple of reasons. Once we agree, I'm assuming that we're going to agree and come with some consensus on this, and it would be great if it'd be a unanimous report. Another reason that I'd like to finalize this today is because we may not have an option to meet again. As Sam knows, and you know, Senator Farren and Senator Diamond, that it was a little difficult to even get this meeting approved. So those are my thoughts, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Senator Diamond.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. This is essentially what we voted on before. So I think, except for the changes we just saw, so I think everything is in line for us to make that decision if we simply want to report this out now. And what we're reporting out, again, if you recall, we actually we're going to take had indicated taking votes, and then we decided to get our own request for our own bill. So I agree with Representative Martin. If the committee is happy with it as they were before, we can just send it out with our recommendation, and it goes, and it should be taken care of. But it should be, no doubt, it should be done today. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you, Representative Martin.
No, I was going to ask Senator Diamond, Mr. Chair, if that was a motion, and if it was, I would second it.
Yeah, it certainly was, Representative Martin. You didn't hear me say I move?
So moved by
I
Senator
thought I
Diamond.
did,
Yeah,
Senator
but
Diamond.
thank you for letting me clarify that.
Right, thank you, Senator Diamond, and I would second that motion, Mr. Chair.
Perfect, thank you. So we have a first and a second. Do we have any discussion from any of the committee members before we ask Darlene to move us into a vote? Representative White.
I actually, that was a mistake, but I will say that we just got to remember that that work group came out of that work group with a lot of work, a lot of detail, and that group also unanimously supported this. So thank you. And I think it's great we can move this today.
Thank you, Representative White. Darlene, seeing no other hands raised, I'd ask you to take the vote, please.
All right, Senator Diamond,
Yes.
Representative Danny Martin,
Yes,
Senator Farren,
Yes.
Representative Perkins,
Yes.
Representative Perry is absent. Representative Williams,
Yes.
Representative Dustin White is absent. Senator Chipman is absent. Representative Bryant,
Yes.
Representative Bruce White,
Yes.
Representative Tom Martin,
Yes.
Representative O'Connell,
Yes.
and Representative Seaver is absent. So 9 in the affirmative, 0 in the negative, 4 absent.
Thank you, Darlene. And with that being the case, Darlene actually sent me a script and I went and found I'm supposed to pound the gavel and close the work session on SP 734. And thank you all for the great work on that one. Sam, do we have anything else on the agenda today?
Nothing on my end. Yeah, I think unless Julia just logged back on if there's something.
That's what I was going to, yeah, good. Julia, anything on your end?
Nothing. Thank you.
All right. So before we conclude and ask if there's any other comments from any of the other members, I would just like to say, as Representative Danny Martin alluded to, is that we're down to closing out our work, and there's a very good possibility that we might not meet as a committee again. And I want to thank both the chairs for giving me this opportunity this afternoon. And I also want to acknowledge that both of our chair members will not be returning to the legislature in the 131st. Like many of us, we don't know if we will be either, but I would just like to acknowledge the leadership. We all see some of the things that happen under the dome down there and how people don't always treat each other the best sometimes. And I feel very blessed to be working on this committee where we do show mutual respect. We listen to each other, and that after 30 years of wearing the uniform, that has to do with leadership. And our House Chair and our Senate Chair are two leaders that have provided that for us. And I just wanted to thank them both personally and think that sometime in the next couple of weeks when we get our schedules together that we ought to get together and celebrate them in person. So thank you, Senator Diamond. Thank you, Representative Martin. Your leadership is very well deserved and respected. And with that, before I call on either of you to say anything, I see a couple members. Representative O'Connell.
Yeah, I'm not going to echo everything that Brad just said, but I learned so much every single meeting. And from every single one of you, everybody on the committee, I learned a lot. And the one thing I'm going to take away from this is the art of compromise. It was amazing to see how it got weaved into every single meeting. And I just want you to know I greatly, greatly appreciate that. And I greatly appreciated working with every single one of you.
Thank you, Representative O'Connell. Representative Thomas Martin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Again, I'll echo the comments before me, but again, it's been a privilege and a pleasure, and thank you both so much for leading an incredible committee.
Thank you. Representative Mike Perkins.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I again also echo the same thing you said. But at the same time, I think we all can learn from exactly what Representative O'Connell said. The word compromise comes in as we all go back to our caucuses and we hear about this committee arguing and fighting and this committee arguing and fighting, and we all work well together. We listen to each other, we're respectful, and it does come down from leadership. So guys, thank you. Being a police officer for 30 plus years, I also wore the uniform and I understand what leadership trickles down. So to you guys, thumbs up and thank you. And to all the rest of you, it's been an honor and a pleasure to work with you.
Representative Bruce White.
Thank you, and I would express the same thoughts as we've heard, and especially over these last 2 years that with doing all this over Zoom, so everybody here, especially our chairs, deserve a lot of thanks because of the extra challenge that we faced with the doing it online. So special thanks.
Representative Williams.
Yes, thank you, Mr. Chair. I just want to echo what everyone else said. And this was, in fact, a unique experience for me. I can't remember the last time I was a part of a group that only included me as the only woman. Let's keep that in mind as we move along. And I've been a mediator for 40 years, and there were very few things, if any, when we were making a decision in this body that would have even required a mediator. It was really a very rewarding experience to be able to come to consensus. So thank you all.
All right, last word before I go to Representative Martin and Senator Diamond. We also all know that we could not do what we do without Darlene, Sam, and Julia. Thank you so much, you guys, the folks behind the stage that make us all look good. So with that, I'm going to call on Representative Danny Martin first.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you so much. I just want to say that it's been an honor and a privilege to work with each and every one of you. I've chaired for the last 8 years, but this is my first opportunity to chair transportation. And with transportation, I got to tell you, very unique and quite unique from a lot of other committees, a lot of compromising here, a lot of unanimous votes, and that's because we're all in this together. So again, a great pleasure, great honor working with all of you. I've learned a lot, and I especially want to thank Darlene, Sam, and Julia for working with us putting up with us and a great opportunity. Senator Farren, you did an outstanding job today. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Senator Diamond.
Thank you. I really appreciate all the comments. I think the reason we were successful is because of the attitude and background experience and the willingness and the desire to come to answers. And that all of you showed that repeatedly, and it made Danny's job and mine a lot easier. I have chaired some much different committees. Chairing the Appropriations Committee, I can tell you they caucus several times a night, which is a different horse. And I think this is something that I prefer. I prefer to be able to work with individuals, and you all have been outstanding. And I can't tell you, I mean, you're all willing and wanting to come to an answer that all of us can agree to. And it's just been a fabulous experience for me. So I can't say enough. And I also want to thank Julia and Sam and Darlene for all their continued assistance. And mostly I want to say, I think that we can, sometime in April, we'll get together and have lunch someplace while we're all in Augusta, and make sure that we get a chance to do it right the way we should. But again, my heart goes out to all of you for all the excellent attitude and so easy to work with. And as somebody else said, that's not always the case. And working with Danny in the House side, he was new to the committee, but he's an experienced warrior for sure. And it was really a privilege to work with Danny. So, and Brad, you did a fantastic job today. I'm glad we didn't have you do this earlier. I'm afraid I'd have lost a job. And
we didn't have to worry about that.
I think you were right on. You were excellent. So thanks for doing it. And I think the reason Danny and I want to do this, we want to show, again, underscore the fact that we're a team. We work together, and partisan politics is part of the nature, but not on this committee. And we really wanted to say thank you for that. So thanks.
Thank you so much. So not seeing any other comments. Tom, is your hand still up from previous, or? Okay, just wanted to make sure. With that being said, we'll see you all tomorrow, and this will conclude the work sessions and the work for the Joint Standing Committee of the 130th Legislature of the Transportation Committee. Job well done, all. Enjoy, and we'll see you tomorrow, okay? Thank you.
Take care, everybody.